Shalom made so many rich Jews like you to support them. Tell a story also. A wagon driver wagoner was traveling from one town to another with a heavy load of merchandise. As the horses were climbing a steep hill, they became fatigued and finally came to a halt, as if on strike. The wagoner whipped the horses once and twice, and to no avail. Finally, he realized that to get the horses' cooperation, he must lighten part of the cart's weight. He removed some of the items and attempted to get the horses to move, but to his dismay, they just would not budge. He removed another lot of the heaviest merchandise, but the horses would still not move. The wagoner finally hit upon a solution. Since the wagon's wheels were made of iron, he began removing them so that the entire wagon would become substantially lighter. He rolled up his sleeves, began the arduous task of removing the rusty cast iron wheels. A passerby who was watching in amazement finally asked him to explain what he was doing. He said, "You simpleton, don't you see that the horses are refusing to climb the hill? I've tried removing merchandise from the wagon, but that did not help. Finally, I realized that I must remove the heavy wheels, and only then can I hope to go on my way," he said with an air of confidence and professionalism. "You fool," the man said. "The wheels are the main component of the wagon and the means for its mobility. The heavier they are, the sturdier the wagon is, ensuring the safety and the comfort of its passengers and the load. What the horses need is time to rest and additional food and drink, but under no circumstances should you foolishly remove the cart's wheels." What's the mashal? People who say that supporting Torah, supporting all these people who are learning Torah is a burden on society. And society can't move forward if they have to support all these people who are not productive and not contributing to society. But the people sitting and learning Torah are the wheels that keep society moving. And if you take off the wheels, society's going nowhere. So if people don't realize that in this country, that people who are learning Torah are not a liability, just the opposite. That's a schus that gives this country and this Medina the schus to be able to survive. Instead of trying to take off the wheels, they find other means to be able to support those wheels and make them more mobile, then society will benefit and not chas v'sholom the opposite. That is Talmud Torah. How about tefillah? Sharei tefillah ninalu. There's two kinds of tefillah. There's a tefillah that is aggressive, that depended on the Beis HaMikdash. That tefillah, like the Nefesh HaChaim says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a system where our Torah and our mitzvahs and our tefillos create the energy for that system to work. And the Rabbanu Shalom influences and sends his influence into the world, but we have to set the energy for that system. And that energy is Torah, mitzvahs, and tefillah. That was encumbered when the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, because the energy source of the world is the Beis HaMikdash. And once the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Sharei tefillah ninalu. But Sharei dima lo ninalu. There's another kind of tefillah. The first kind of tefillah, the word bracha means tosefes v'ribui, to add something, add power. I make a bracha, baruch atah Hashem, I add spiritual power to the world. I'm going to eat bread. I make a bracha, amotzi lechem min haaretz, I add spiritual bread to the world, and then I'm able to take away the physical bread. And I've given something in its place. That's why a person who doesn't make a bracha is like a ganav. I'm taking, but I'm not giving anything in its place. But there's another meaning of bracha. Baruch means, Rabbanu Shalom, you are the source of all bracha. I can't do it on my own. I'm a nothing on my own. Ata, you, Rabbanu Shalom. And only when I say Shem Hashem can I stand up straight, because with you I'm something, without you I'm nothing. That kind of tefillah wasn't affected by the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. That's more of a passive tefillah. A tefillah of dema. That's a tefillah of tears, where I say, Rabbanu Shalom, I'm dependent on you. I need your help. And then by being dependent, the Rebbeinu Shalom helps me. I'm not the aggressive one creating the energy source for the world to have shefa from the Rebbeinu Shalom. I'm nevatel myself, totally negate myself and subjugate myself to the Rebbeinu Shalom. That kind of tefillah is still there. But if we really believed that tefillah could help, then it would help. A few interesting maisim here. The local rabbi gave a musar shmuz between Mincha and Ma'ariv daily. One day he began exhorting his congregants to greater devotions. We need to be more focused on Hashem, he began. We need to think about Hashem. We need to bring Hashem into our lives. We need to concentrate on Hashem. Losing patience, one of the old men in the back blurted out, come on, forget about Hashem, let's start davening already. You laugh, but think about it. Isn't that to a certain degree how we all are? Who's thinking about the Rebbeinu Shalom when they daven? I once traveled to Bnei Brak to get a bracha from Rav Chaim Kanievsky for a medical problem. After the Rav gave me the bracha, I asked him in Hebrew, is there anything practical I can do? He looked at me and said, daven. Do we think that davening is practical? Practical is going to the doctor or a million other kinds of schools or whatever. But in Rav Chaim's mind, davening is as practical as anything else. HaRav David Feinstein, the great-grandfather of Rav Moshe Feinstein, was employed by a goy. One of the preconditions of the employment was that Rav David would have time off every day to daven. As time went by, the employer started getting frustrated that the Jew took time off every day to pray. One day, while Rav David was in the middle of Shemona Esrei, the goy snuck up behind him and shot a bullet over his head. Rav David was so completely absorbed in his davening that he didn't even flinch. You're lucky you didn't move, said the goy with a mixture of malice and admiration. If you had, I'd have used the next bullet to kill you. Now I see you're truly a God-fearing man and you were really praying. How many of us daven with that kind of kavanah that a bullet over our head is not going to affect us? So here's another. Rabbi Cheskel Avramsky would invest such tremendous energy in his davening that he'd be totally drained by the time he finished. A Talmud once saw him exhausted after davening. Would the Rav like me to bring him something to eat so he can regain his strength? It won't help, Rav Avramsky answered. Why not, the Talmud persisted. Because making a bracha also takes energy. Maybe if we davened like those maisim, then maybe the davening would be a different story. Maybe then our davening would have the following effect. See, the Baba of a Rebbe once went on a Shushan Purim. The Baba of a Rebbe was walking with his entourage of Hasidim when he suddenly stopped in front of the home of a childless couple. When he knocked on the door, the Shak Chassid ushered him in. Can I bring the Rebbe a cup of wine, the man asked. No, I'd actually prefer a glass of water. I want to be able to make a bari nefashos, intending it as a bracha to the couple that a nefesh should be created for them. Another Chassid, also childless, was standing in the group. Rebbe, me too, he pleaded. No, bari nefashos, Rabbos. The first couple had a son that year, and the second had a daughter. 20 years later, the two got married. Maybe if our davening and our brachas were representative of what the first maisim were, then maybe our brachas and our davening would have the same effect as the Baba of a Rebbe. So if we appreciate Tefillah and Talmud Torah, and also if we appreciate what is also missing, and that is Tahara. Tahara means that our whole environment is a Torah environment. That's what we're missing. Avira shel kedusha. Va'avdil eschem min ha'amim li osli. The Rabbanos of separations of the world. That separation is that we should create a society where our standards and our values are different than the nations of the world. We weren't put in this world to have the same standards and values of Goyim, but just to keep a bunch of mitzvahs. And that's what Yaakov Avinu said, Im lovan garti v'taryig mitzvahs shomarti. He didn't say taryig mitzvahs kiyamti. He couldn't have kept taryig mitzvahs by lovan. First of all, he's chutz la'aretz, so many mitzvahs don't apply there. And he married two sisters. He obviously wasn't the Kayim Kol HaTorah Kula there. But taryig mitzvahs shomarti means I protected the environment where wherever the mitzvahs then would be chal on me, I'd be able to keep them. Before you can keep any mitzvah, you have to have the right environment. Because if you try to keep the Torah in an environment that's not a Torah-dik environment, then I saw Rabbi Hollander, Zatzal, said you don't have taryig mitzvahs then. You have taryig problems. Because every mitzvah conflicts with your standards and your values and your way of life. And even if you want to keep mitzvahs, but they're problems. They're hard to keep. Always like to explain the machlokas between the Dubna Magid and the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon says that if a mitzvah is too easy to keep, then it's a siman that it's not a really quality mitzvah. And the Dubna Magid says if mitzvahs are difficult, then it's a sign you're not doing them properly, because mitzvahs should be easy. Seemingly two contradictory opinions. I always like to explain they're talking about two different things. The Vilna Gaon is talking about creating the foundation of mitzvahs. He's talking about Rus, where she decided to go with Naomi and convert. She wasn't doing any specific mitzvah. She was being makabel on herself the values and standards of what Torah is. And those are very difficult to do. If they're too easy to do, it's a siman that you're not doing it properly. For a person to create the environment of Torah, the values, the standards of what Torah is difficult. But once you have that, then the mitzvahs are easy because they fit your standards and values. But if you have standards and values that are basically secular, but you want to keep taryig mitzvahs, then you're trying to put a round thing on a square base. It doesn't fit. And then the mitzvahs are very difficult because they contradict and conflict with your standards and your values and your way of life. But if you create a way of life with standards and values of Torah, then the Torah is easy to keep. That's what the idea of Tahara and Shechina, in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, it was obvious what that purity was. And that's why we need kehilos, and that's why you need families of Talmud Torah and Tefillah and Erkei Torah. And if you have those kehilos where they have the standards and the values of Torah, then within that environment you can keep Torah easily. But it's not enough. It should be in the kehilah, it should be in your own home. There's a medrash. The medrash says, "L'mishpechosehem yotzu min hateva, mikan sheyotzu mi beis hakneses mishpachos mishpachos." Just like when they left the teva, they left by family. When you leave shul, you should leave by family. Simple meaning, the word teva means a boat, but the word teva also means the Aron Kodesh in the lashon of the Mishnah. Motzimus hateva, the rechova shel ir. In English, it's like that. The ark, Noah's ark, and this is also called the Holy Ark. So they're both arks. So when you leave the ark, you leave by family. So when you leave shul, you should leave by family. What does it mean? We live in a world where we are inundated with waters, flood waters. Like the Meiri says, the evil in this world is like the sea, it's like the ocean. And the way to escape it is like a boat. You can't run away from the sea. It's everywhere. The most you can do is insulate yourself that the ocean shouldn't come in. So how do you insulate yourself? And that it says that the tevas today are yeshivas, kehilos, seminaries. These are the tevos that waterproof and insulate us from the mayim hazedonim, from the influences that are not Torah influences that are all over. But you can't stay in a yeshiva your whole life. You can't stay in a seminary your whole life. You can't even stay in a shul your whole life. I know it's beginning to feel like that, but in any case, can't even stay in a shul your whole life. So how do you leave and still be protected? That's what the Medrash says. If you want to leave those tevos, you need a lifeboat that is just as watertight as the mother ship, and that's your family. If you create in your family the same values and the same standards as that which is in the yeshiva and in the kehillah, and you make your family a lifeboat, so then you can creates midos tovos, Borosi Yetzer Hara, Borosi Torah Tavlin, and Ein Torah, Ein Derech Eretz, and it's Mivili de Maisha. Not just that you know what to do, but a person who knows all the sugyas and menachas about tefillin and puts on tefillin. His tefillin is a different tefillin than somebody who just puts on these boxes. It's all the L'Shem Shamayim, but it's a different mitzvah. So if we appreciate Talmud Torah and we appreciate what tefillah is, and we appreciate how much we lost because of Churban Abayis, and we appreciate the Tahara, the environment of what Torah is, and how much we lost because there's no Beis HaMikdash, and we have a tremendous tshuka to get it back. And when a person has a tshuka for a she'ifa, that in itself helps to recapture what we lost. And if we work on that and use that as a goal, and try to at least accomplish what we can accomplish without a Beis HaMikdash, then the Rebbeinu Shalom will see what our ratzon is, and He'll give us back a Beis HaMikdash, so all these things, our Torah, our Tefillah, our Tahara, will be complete. Al-Khurban Beis HaMikdash. Al-Khurban Beis HaMikdash.
Quem que vai dar? Ama está
Next kina, Chav Hey, page 81, Miyitain Roshi Moyim, and immediately after this we'll say the special kina for Churban of Yadus Europa. This kina refers to Shmad, Shoah, Maseh Hatzlav, Crusaders. And it has a connection to the Holocaust. This corresponds to the Tzara of Nechresh Ha'ir, where the Goyim weren't satisfied just to kill us and to send us into Golas, but L'chuv Nachide Migoy V'lo Yizocher Shem Yisrael Od, plow out and wipe out our memory. This corresponds to our sitting on the ground. The Etzem Avelis that were like dead people. Amalek is the symbol of this. Lahashmid, Laharog, La'abed. Sounds like overkill. Lahashmid means to put us into a shmad where we are totally at their mercy, and then eventually to kill us. And then after we're dead, La'abed, to destroy our memory. And that's why Midah Keneged Midah, we have a mitzvah to destroy the memory of Amalek and wipe them out. Amalek are total atheists. They're the antithesis of Klal Yisrael. We believe that everything happens from the Rabbanu Shalom. Most of the Goyim are of the Avodah Zarah, believe in a lot of other powers in this world. And Amalek are at the other end of the rope, the tug of war. They believe in nothing. And there's a struggle between them and us on how we're going to bring the world either from Avodah Zarah to Emunah or from Avodah Zarah to Kfirah. And this was the hallmark of the Nazis. Those that say that the Nazis were Amalek can't be 100% sure, but there's a Gemara according to the Gears of the Gra and Megillah. Daf Yomi just learned it not too long ago. Germamya shel Edom refers, the Gra says, to Germany. And they are Edom, Amalek. In fact, the Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, in 1899, Kaiser Wilhelm, Kaiser of Germany, came to Eretz Yisrael. And all of the Rabbonim went out to greet him because of the mitzvah to greet Malchei Umos HaOlam. So you'll see the difference between them and Mashiach when Mashiach comes. And Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld refused to go out. And he said he has a Masorah that Germany is Amalek. This was not after or two. It was in 1899. And you don't go out to greet Malachim from Amalek. In Mein Kampf, Hitler Yamach Shemo said that the main struggle in this world, the main war, is between the Jews and the Germans, and everything else is only a facade. And he also, as Amalek, denied that there was any deity, no power that ran the world. He said that we were proud to be barbarians. That's what the Nazis were. They believed in nothing. And he said, I accuse and the Jews are guilty of two things. They mutilated the body of the world through bris milah, and they mutilated the spirit of the world by giving them a conscience, as if there's right and wrong in this world. That's exactly what Amalek is. Amalek denies any value to Klal Yisrael. Our value is that we have a close connection to Hashem, and we have a Torah that makes everything in life important. And they deny both of those things. There is no God, you can't have a connection, and because everything is merely accidental, and everything is just a result of blind evolution, so there can't be any right and wrong in this world. Everything's an accident. There can't be anything wrong with stepping on an ant if the ant is a result of accidental evolution. And Menela, there can't be anything wrong with stepping on your aunt from Chicago either, because she's even a bigger accident of evolution. They say that in 1946, on Hoshana Rabbah, they hung the people who were the Nazis who were judged in Nuremberg. And there were 11 of them, but Goering committed suicide, and they ended up only hanging 10 of them. And when they went to the gallows, so Streicher, Machshamo V'Zichro, before he was hung, he proclaimed Purim Fest 1946. And they say that there's a remez to this in the Megillah. In the Megillah, in the Aseres B'nai Haman, so there are a few letters that are either big or small. In Parmashta, the Shin. In Vayzosa, the Vav and the Zayin. And and in what's it called, in Parshandosa, the Tuf. You take those letters together, you have a Tuf, a Shin, and a Zayin is 1946, Tuf Shin Zayin. The Vav represents the fact that it's not just Stam Tuf Shin Zayin, but it's in Elef Hashishi, which means Hatashaz. And there were Asara Harugim of the Nazis, Aseres B'nai Haman, and originally there were supposed to be 11, in the end there was only 10, and even this Nazi himself recognized there was a connection between Purim and these hanging of these Aseres B'nai Haman. Maisa, the connection between the Amalek, who is the Chuv and Achide Migoy V'lo Yizocher Shem Yisrael Od, and the Holocaust, the Nazis in Germany, is a very close connection. However, there's a side of simcha in this also. There's a Pelodika medrash. I'll tell you a little background where I found this medrash and when I first said it. Quite a few years ago, on Hoshana Rabbah, Leil Hoshana Rabbah was a Motzi Shabbos, and we had a terrible tragedy occur here in Matityahu. It was during the second Intifada, and a family had come here from, I think, from Petach Tikva, from Cholon. I remember now, I think Cholon. And they, Cholon. And it was dangerous to travel from here to Dolev. And they had to go in a car that was Mugan. So they parked their car here, Erev Shabbos, and took a sherut that was Mugan because they were throwing stones or whatever to Dolev. Motzei Shabbos, they came back here to pick up their car. On the way back here, there was on the road up to Matityahu, that road doesn't exist anymore, but on the road up here, the Arabs put a bomb that was detonated when the car hit a string that was connected to this bomb. The bomb went off, the car went up in flames, and everybody was able to be gotten out except one woman who they couldn't get out of the car, and she burned to death in that car. We were in the middle of a Simchas Beis HaShoeva, which we usually have Hoshana Rabbah night in my home. And in the middle of the dancing, people came and said that there was this explosion, people are in danger, and everybody ran down to do what they could to help. And in the end, this poor woman died that night, Hoshana Rabbah night, here on the outskirts of Matityahu. You can imagine what the Simchas Torah was like here in Matityahu the next night, right after this terrible tragedy, mamish, in our own Moshav. And I found the following medrash. I spoke at night Simchas Torah before the Hakafas. The medrash says like this: the entire Sukkot we bring korbanos for the Ummah Olam, and after 7 days of korbanos for them, for their welfare, for their protection, for their success, they should love us, because we brought 7 korbanos for their sake, and they still hate us. And that should therefore bring us to tremendous simcha. And the medrash is a medrash pliya, because the goyim still hate us after we brought all these korbanos. That's why we should be b'simcha. I think the answer is the following. If the goyim would hate us, a rational hate, there's something rational about why they hate us. So then, something wrong with us, obviously, and we should feel terrible. But if it's irrational, there's no rational reason why they should hate us. We do so much for them, and they should love us rationally, and they still hate us, then it's a siman that their hatred is irrational, and it's because there's something very special about us that they can't stand, because evil can't stand righteousness, and Tuma can't stand Tahara, and it's beyond rationale. If it would be rational, then we'd have to worry about something. But if it's totally irrational, that means there's something very special about Klal Yisrael, and that's why the world goes crazy with their irrational hatred. That should bring us to simcha. So if we see that the world, look in the news and see what's going on, the protests, the Arabs, the pro-Palestinians, and not just Arabs, all over the world. And it's totally irrational. Anybody who has a rational look at what's going on here sees that we're the victims. We're not the aggressors and the perpetrators. All you have to do is be a little bit objective, and nobody's objective. It's a totally irrational hatred. Then it should let us know that it's irrational because there's something very special about us, and that should bring us to a tremendous simcha. So with all this tzad, remembering the Crusades, and remembering the Shoah, remembering the Holocaust, there's a small idea of also a simcha, that if they're so against us, and it's so irrational, there must be something very special about Klal Yisrael, and we should be tremendously proud about that. That's what we should think about when we read this kinnos Mi'itei Rosh Mayim, and the next kinnos, the special kinnos that Rav Schwab composed for the Zeicher of the Churban of Yahadus Europe. Next Kina, Lamed Aleph. The minig is to sing it This kinnos reminds us that just like Yetzias Mitzrayim was a moed, the Rosh Hashiva of Gifter explains moed means that you have an appointment with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That appointment can be a time of simcha, it can be a time of Eivel, but we come face to face with the Rabbanu Shalom. It's also a moed because Kila Chamoso Aleitzim Va'avonim. The Rabbanu Shalom had two options: to destroy us because we deserved it, or to do something so shocking that would ensure that eventually we'd come back, even if it took thousands of years. And the Rabbanu Shalom exercised the second option, to destroy the Beis HaMikdash, to shock us into a golus, and to hopefully give us the opportunity to be rehabilitated. Just like a seed decomposes and then grows, so too all the tzoros are the decomposition of that seed that eventually will come to the smicha of Tzemach David Avdecha. The tzoros themselves strengthen us. Eish tzor leYaakov mimeno yivasheya. Chavetz Chaim says that which it says, "B'machashakim hoshivani k'nesei olam." The Gemara says, "Machashakim hoshivani" is a Talmud Bavli. Sometimes from the darkest moments comes the greatest things. Klal Yisrael produced Talmud Bavli because of the tzoros. Klal Yisrael compared to a zayis. The zayis gives its greatest yield when it's beaten. And Chazal say that a person sees not out of the white of his eye, but from the black of the eye. That's where you see the most. All the tzoros are really for the good, eternally good. Just want to two things to put that in a little perspective. After World War II, the survivors, broken in heart and spirit, surrounded the great Rebbe Aaron of Belz. Rebbe, how can we possibly go on? We've lost everyone and everything. How can we carry on? How? Rebbe Aaron spoke softly to his people. The Gemara says that Tchias HaNesim is alluded to in the verses of Oz Yosher. I ask you, why did we learn about Tchias HaNesim specifically from there? I'll tell you why. Because a short while earlier, 80% of the Jewish people died in the plague of darkness. That means that everyone at Kriyas Yamsuf must have lost at least one family member, and most of them probably more. Yet here they were singing Shira. How could people who had just sustained such losses possibly have been able to sing? The answer is that they had full belief in Tchias HaNesim. They realized their mourning would be limited. They understood that they could and must carry on. We too, the Rebbe concluded, tears flowing down his cheeks, must focus on our faith in Tchias HaNesim and the knowledge that we'll be reunited with our loved ones. We can and must carry on. Those present felt as though a new spirit of life had been breathed into them. Just one more Maisa, just to put into perspective what the most terrible things, if you look in the perspective of eternity, that all past and all future are all one. An elderly couple living in Vilna did not have any children for many years. Finally, they were blessed with a child. This child was their entire world. They doted on him and gave him all of their love, and then suddenly he died. Everyone in the community had to find the proper words to give the couple some sense of comfort, but they were too old to have any more children, and no one seemed to find the right words to say to them. The Vilna Gaon, who was not known for his pastoral visits, came to the home of the elderly couple and shared a very powerful thought. As you know, not long ago there was a great tzaddik in our town by the name of Avram ben Avram. This holy convert fled from his family of Polish noblemen and came to our city to immerse himself in the holy words of Torah. After an endless search, his Catholic family discovered that he was hiding in our city. The Catholic Church strictly forbids anyone from leaving their religion and converting to Judaism. So they offered him the chance to give up his conversion or he'd be killed. He chose to sanctify the name of the Almighty and was burned at the stake. Let me tell you what happened when his soul ascended to heaven. He was given the greatest honor and taken to the highest levels. Every door was open for him. Ascending higher and higher, he opened door after door until finally he came to one door that would not open. As much as he tried, he could not gain entry into this room. Wondering why he was unable to do so, he asked and was told that his soul had nearly reached perfection. There was only one thing missing. He had not been born to a Jewish mother. Hence, he was lacking that last drop of perfection, and that is why the door remained closed. The goal now addressed the broken couple. I came here to tell you that the soul of your child was the soul of Avram ben Avram. Its sole purpose in this world was to perfect the last element that needed perfection. You enabled Avram ben Avram to open that last door. The Gaon's visit concluded. The elderly couple now understood. We can't know all the secrets of creation, what was before and what's after or whatever, but at least a story like this gives a person a little bit of a emunah and bitochen, that if we could see the whole picture, what came before, what's going to come, ad sof kol adoros, every tzara really is really a Yeshua, is really a hatova from the Rabbanu Shalom, and it's only because we don't see the whole picture that we see as a tzaras. Same time, the Rabbanu Shalom wants us to see as a tzaras. He wants us to mourn. He wants us to feel bad. There's reason for that too. And if we accept it and deal with it the way that we see it, then someday we'll be able to see that everything really, ultimately, is for the eternal good. That's what we should think of when we sing Eish Tukah B'Kir. Next kina, second to the last one, we're going to say Lamed Daled Yom Achpi. Speaks about the killing of Zechariah Hanavi. This kina represents another aspect of Churban Bayis Rishon, the bittul of emunah, of nevuah. When there's no nevuah, there's no clarity. Hester panim. People have sfeikus and emunah, and this corresponds to the gzeira of the Chet HaMeraglim, also panim, being 40 years in the desert, separated from the Ribono Shel Olam. And this corresponds to the inui of Tashmish Anita. Separation between the Ribono Shel Olam and Klal Yisrael is represented by the separation between husband and wife. This also represents the crying. When a person cries, his tears blind his eyes. You can't see. It's hard to see what's before you. The purpose of Nevuah was to give us clarity, to connect us to the Ribono Shel Olam, Dveikus B'Hashem, Yedias Hashem. The more a person is clear, has clarity, the more he can give over to other people. Avraham Avinu was able to break the tzlamim and keep them broken because he had a clarity in emunah, and he was able to transfer and give over that clarity to others. The Rabbi says that there were other people in the generation of Avraham Avinu, but they weren't able to break the tzlamim because the Goyim hid the tzlamim from them. But Avraham Avinu found them, and he was able, therefore, to break them. That's what was special about Avraham Avinu. The obvious question is, that was the greatness of Avraham Avinu. He was a good detective. He could find the tzlamim that other people couldn't find. Besides, that was easy for him. His father sold tzlamim. So he followed his father to work one day. He found the tzlamim. They hid their tzlamim from the other ones. Who was hiding the tzlamim? The whole world was worshipping idols. Who were they hiding it from? I always like to explain what the Ravid means is the following. They weren't hiding their solim in cellars. They were hiding them behind an aura of respectability. They said that they're honoring the Ribono Shel Olam by honoring these psalim, which the Rambam says was the yesod of Avodah Zarah, mistake. And they hid the Avodah Zarah behind a facade of tzidkus, of righteousness. And nobody could show them that it was total evil. There was an irbuv of tov and ra. It was a big cholent of light and darkness mixed together. And the other ones couldn't expose it for what it was. But Avraham Avinu had such clarity of what was right and what was wrong. He was able to expose the Avodah Zarah for what it was, and he was able to break the tzlamim. Breaking the tzlamim doesn't mean taking a hammer and breaking a pestle, because the guy can make another one, and another one. Breaking it means convincing the Oved Avodah Zarah that he doesn't want to make another one. Only somebody with tremendous clarity could do that. The other Gedolim of the time didn't have that clarity that Avraham Avinu had. That's why the word lemor both means to tell over to others. It also means to tell clearly. Because if you understand something clearly, you can give it over to others. If you don't understand it clearly, you can't give it over. That's why the Shinantam Levanecha Chazal say, Shiyu Divrei Torah Chidudim Al Picha. It doesn't say teach it to your children clearly. It says you should know it clearly. Because if you don't know it clearly, you can't give it over to your children. And therefore, Chacham Adaf Minavi. Chacham also has that clarity. That's what a Navi has, that clarity of the Ribono Shel Olam. You can get that also from Limud Torah. Because we don't have that clarity today, the Chazon Ish says, therefore what used to be a mitzvah to kill minim to rid the world of pollution, spiritual pollution. It doesn't apply today because nobody sees clearly that a min is as much a danger as a sniper who's killing innocent people. Somebody would kill a sniper who's killing innocent people, we'd consider him a hero. But if somebody kills a min, we see him as some kind of deranged fanatic. We see that the min is spewing spiritual bullets, that's killing people spiritually, which is worse than killing them physically. But we don't see that. Because we don't see it, says the Chazon Ish. You could see it only when there was Nevuah, only when there was a Beis HaMikdash. Today we don't see that. Today it would come to a Chil Hashem to kill minim. Today, in place of Nevuah, again, we have Torah to give us clarity. Chachomim. We have other ways also. Hashamayim Mesaprim Kvod Keil. If you study nature properly, you hear the Rabbi speaking to you through nature. Mipsori Echazeh. L'cho Amar Libi Bakshu Panai. If a person listens to his heart, he'll hear that his heart is telling him to seek out the Rabbanu Shalom. And if you listen carefully, you'll hear the Aseres HaDibros and hear Matan Torah, Kol Godel V'lo Yosef. So if you have ears that are sensitive, you can still hear the Rabbanu Shalom without a Navi. But you have to be very sensitive to hear it. And that's what Emunah is. Emunah is being objective, being willing to listen and hear the Rabbanu Shalom in every way you can, from nature, from Torah, whatever. If you're not objective, you won't hear anything. And that's why the mitzvah of that Emunah of Shamshon Full Her says is not the mitzvah of knowing there's a God. Everybody knows there's a God deep down. It's acknowledging it and being objective enough to accept it. And then the mitzvah of the Emunah is also to make it real, not just to believe, but it should be real, as it tells. They used to say the difference between knowing something and really feeling it. It's like when you see a park bench that has a sign on it, wet paint. So you know that it's wet paint, but you don't really feel it till you touch the bench and see the wet paint on your finger. Because then you really experience it, then it's real to you. And Emunah doesn't just mean believing, and even believing really, it means also trusting and having faith in the Rabbanu Shalom. If you believe in him, then trust him. Have faith in him. Know that what he's doing for you is the good. And it also means being consistent, being faithful to the Rabbanu Shalom. If you really believe, then live up to what you believe. Be consistent with it. And consistency is a tremendously important thing. Chazal say that there are many Gedolim who said what they did that gave them long life, and they all started with Niyomai. Always did this. Heard from Rabbi Munk, the name of Rabbi Munk from Telt. That was the Milo. The Milo wasn't so much of things they did, but they always did it. Being consistent is a very, very important thing. And that is the mitzvah of Emunah. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Anochi, acknowledge that I'm there. Don't be subjective, be objective. Hashem Elokecha, din and rachamim. Trust me that no matter what you see, good or bad, it's all for your good. Asher hotzeisich on the Eretz Mitzrayim. Believe in it like you saw Yetzias Mitzrayim, bechush. You can actually feel it. It's real to you. Mibeis avodim. There you were slaves, and you had to be faithful to your masters the same way be faithful to me. Be consistent. That is the mitzvah. That is the mitzvah that is much easier when they're Nevi'im. We should bemoan and say this kinnos to hope for the day when we'll have Nevuah back. We'll be able to have that brirus, that clarity of what it means to be able to see and feel the Rabbanu Shalom mamish as if it's real to us. Yom Achbi. The last kinnos, say them one after the other, starting with Sion. Kino Lamed Vav, Sion Halosi Shali. And then we'll say the last Sion. Mem Dalid, Sion Geveris Lamamlachos Mitzirayach. And immediately after that, we'll say Alit Sion. Last Kina is the sorrow of being distant from Eretz Yisrael. Also corresponds to the Gzeres HaMeraglim. 40 years we were distant from Eretz Yisrael. And also corresponds to the Isser of Tashmish Hamita, separation between husband and wife. And this includes all of them, Galus of Bayis Rishon and Bayis Sheni and Beitar and Nechra Sha'ir, all include this being separated from Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is the place where Klal Yisrael can really live with all the Ramachi Vorim and Shesagidim, because it's a place where all the mitzvahs apply. It's a place where we can create that society that is Kulo Kodesh, where we can be moved out from the nations of the world. Omad Vayimodei Oretz, the Rebbeinu Shalom measured every land, and he found no land more suitable for Klal Yisrael, who are an Am Kodesh, with a special relationship with Hashem, than Eretz Yisrael, which is also an Eretz Kedosha, which has a special relationship with Hashem. It's a place where the Rebbeinu Shalom told Avram Avinu, Lech lecha letovoscha la'ascha. Eretz Yisrael has both milas. It's for our good, and it's also for our pleasure. In that respect, it's tova ha'aretz ma'od ma'od. In every midah that the Rebbeinu Shalom gives us is for the good here, and it's also b'chol ma'odcha. It's also for our pleasure. We have to have the right eyes to be able to see that. They say that Rabbi Menachem Mendel Mivitebsk came to Eretz Yisrael in the mid-1800s. And after 40 days of being here, he made a tremendous party for his Talmidim. When they asked him what the purpose of the party was, he said that before he left Europe, a Mekubal told him that when he gets to Eretz Yisrael, he'll see that every stone in Eretz Yisrael is a diamond. And he came here and he saw a lot of stones. He didn't see any diamonds. And he fasted for 40 days, every day in the daytime. And he said, today was the end of the 40 days. I opened the shutters and I see that every stone in Eretz Yisrael is a diamond. You have to have the right eyes to be able to see what some people see as stumbling blocks, to see as a stone. And if you have the right approach and the right attitude, and if we'd only live in Eretz Yisrael properly, then the Torah promises, Lo yachmod ishas artzecha. I always like to explain That the Rebbe doesn't just promise us the Goyim won't take the land. They won't even want it. The Ibn Ezra says that people want what they feel is within their range. But people don't want what's out of their tchum completely. If we really live in Eretz Yisrael the way we're supposed to, as an Am Kodesh, the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, like the Sam Sofer says, every aspect of life, if you connect it to Eretz Yisrael and create a viable society as the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, we attach every aspect of life to Kedusha, then the Goyim won't want this land, because they'll see it's not for them. What do they want? A land of Kedusha. But if we live this land like Goyim, and we live a secular existence, then why shouldn't they want the land? It's a nice land. And they feel they have a connection to it too. Therefore, Avira Eretz Yisrael Machim, if we just open our minds to the atmosphere here. Avram Avinu saw, what did he see special about Eretz Yisrael? Before Lech Lecha, he came to Aram Naraim and he saw a bunch of Goyim eating and drinking and partying. And he said, this isn't the place I want. He came to Eretz Yisrael and he saw a bunch of Goyim planting and plowing and harvesting. And he said, Rabbanu Shalom, this is the place for my children. What was so special about a bunch of Goyim planting over a bunch of Goyim eating and drinking? The answer is there's two philosophies of life. There's the Esav philosophy, you want it right now. Immediate gratification. Osui, finished. Esav. He's a hunter. Goes out in the forest, kills an animal and eats it. Yaakov Avinu v'hoya ekev. What's going to be in the end? Not now. Put in effort now for the future. Yaakov was a shepherd. A shepherd's willing to raise an animal when he can't get any benefit for a future benefit. Avram Avinu saw that Eretz Yisrael was conducive to the second kind of philosophy. Goyim, planting, plowing, harvesting. Not immediate gratification. It's conducive to that. Whereas Chutz La'aretz is conducive to eat, drink, and be merry. Immediate gratification. And that doesn't mean you can't live a fine Torah life in Chutz La'aretz. You can, but you have to go against the environment. And it doesn't mean you can't give up the Torah in Eretz Yisrael. Plenty of people do. But you have to go against the environment. When saw this very clearly. Used to be Shavua HaSefer, was Taka Shavua HaSefer. It was for a week, and it was not in every bookstore or whatever. It was, they used to bring books, Svarim, to a central place in the city, and everybody would come for a night out. They had rides and cotton candy for the kids, and everybody would walk around the tables with these books on it. They have a special sales or whatever. They used to have it in Gana Pamon in Yerushalayim years ago. I once took my family there, and we walked around the tables and got Svarim and looked at all these Svarim. And that same night, I had to go and travel to New York. So we came back from this Shavua HaSefer, and I got on a plane, and 11 hours later I was in New York. I get off the plane in New York. The person who met me said he has tickets for something special in Javits Convention Center that's going on that day. Would I like to join him? I said, what's going on? He said, we have a kosher food fair. What is that? Where all the producers of kosher food bring their latest products, put them out on tables, everybody walks around, tastes the food. I said, I just came from Eretz Yisrael, where everybody was walking around tables looking at Svarim. Now you want me to go around walking on tables looking at food? He said, not that there's anything wrong with kosher food. It's very nice. Shaila is what your focus is. There the focus was on Svarim, here the focus is on food. It's definitely a different focus, a different attitude between Eretz Yisrael and between the Chutz La'aretz. For those people who don't live here, at least feel bad that you don't live here. At least feel that you're missing something. And that doesn't mean that you have to feel, frustrated. It means that if there's reason why you can't be here, and there are legitimate reasons why not, at least feel you're missing something. The difference will be that when the circumstances will present themselves, you'll come here. But if you don't feel you're missing anything, why in the world would you ever want to come here? And for the people who live here, at least live here and benefit from what really exists here. Don't live here as you're living in Chutz La'aretz. Live here as if you're living in Eretz Yisrael. And even though Eretz Yisrael is niknas be Yisurin, but be nabiv those Yisurin, realize that the difficulties that are here are just to make you more connected to the land. And if we have that avelis, and we know what we're missing, and we know how we have to take advantage of what we have, and we internalize that, we're finishing the kinnos now. So there's a cute story here of a bacher who came to Eretz Yisrael, to Mir, learned in Mir for 2 years. He was about to return to the United States for Shidduchim. Before you go back to America, maybe you should get a bracha from the Mashgiach of Ponevezh. He was referring to the great tzaddik Rav Chatzkel Levenstein. So he came with the Rav Baruch Finkel to Rav Chatzkel, and Rav Baruch said in Yiddish, this bacher learned in Yeshiva in Yerushalayim for 2 years, and now he's going back to America. Could the Mashgiach please give him a bracha? So Rav Chatzkel didn't know that the boy didn't speak Yiddish, so he said in Yiddish, "Nu mit was gehst du zurück? What are you going back with?" So the boy answered with "Elal." Rav Chatzkel was flabbergasted. What was this boy talking about? No, Rav Chatzkel said, "Was nimmst du mit? What are you taking with you?" The boy said, 2 suitcases. Rav Chatzkel looked at the boy baffled. What are you taking with you? Spent, I don't know how many hours here, trying to give over a little bit of what this Avelis is all about. Don't go home with 2 suitcases. Take something with you. We have 21 days now to internalize Tisha B'Av. Those 21 days end with Rosh Chodesh Elul. And then you have 40 days to prepare for Yom Kippur, for Aseres Yemei Tshuva. I hope that what I did here was worthwhile enough to take something. Kui mochem dvarim, v'shuvu el Hashem. Take something, maybe not everything. I don't know how much I'm taking from it, but at least you'll be my shluchim. Take something, internalize it. Internalize it for the next 21 days over Ben Azmanim. There's plenty of tsaris and plenty of evil in the world around us to be able to carry it on. Take it until Rosh Chodesh Elul and then use it in your preparation for Yom Noraim, for Yom Kippur, so that the result of all of this will be that we'll really come to a tshuva shleima on Yom Kippur, and then we'll have another 21 days. 21 days between Rosh Hashanah and Hoshana Rabbah, which culminate in Simchas Torah. This year, Taka, there'll be a reason to have a real Simchas HaTorah, because if we really do tshuva shleima, then we'll zocha also to geula shleima in Herav Yomei. Sion, hello, Tisha.
No words. Never know. Sounds like it's over.